Well, here in Berlin, the crowd, several tens of thousands strong here around the Brandenburg Gate, is, if anything, noisier than it was before, although relatively good-humoured. We've seen a couple of punch-ups involving extreme right-wingers, but nothing serious and probably nothing more than you expect in a crowd of this size. Charles Wheeler's with me still. We can see some pictures there of the crowd. By and large, it's even pretty good-humoured.
Entirely. This is the best bit. This is the spontaneous part of the proceedings. Nobody's making any speeches. Nobody here, and there are tens of thousands here, have heard a word Herr Kohl has said, and they don't care.
Quite hard to hear a word your neighbour's saying.
You've got two events here taking place about 1,000 yards apart, and they might be 10 years apart. This is the real bit. And what's going over at the Reichstag is the official program. And this is the best bit. And I'd like to be down there rather than up here.
Well, you will be in just a moment, Charles. Just bear with us for a moment, though. Let's go back to our discussion. If we can try to have a serious discussion under these rather noisy circumstances, I'd like to ask you all this. We've now got a huge economic superpower in the middle of Europe, united country, nearly 80 million people. Do you think this is really going to shift the whole centre of gravity in Europe? Detlef Kuhn?
Well, by the way, the Germans are only 75 million people at the moment and not 80, you know. And we manage year by year to get less even, you know. So probably you will be satisfied in a few years because we are only 50 million people by now. But to be more serious, I think West Germany has become greater now, has become a real Germany, and Western Europe will be greater in the future too, will be real Europe. And this means good chances for everybody, for all peoples, including the East European peoples, which are very important and much more next to Europe now than they used to be in the past.
But you know what the fears of other Europeans are when they hear expressions like Greater Germany.
Well, as far as I know, most of the East European peoples are rather satisfied with the development because they realize that they have chances too.
Irene Runge?
I think I would agree with that, but I think I probably better understand the fear of the rest of the world, and I think we should not forget the developing countries. We should take the fears of a lot of people in the world very seriously. There is still a remembrance of what happened during the Nazi period, and I think it would be very important for Germany not to forget that. Besides that, I also think economically there will be a development, and I believe in Europe and not that much in Germany.
Professor Schweitzer, do you think a united Germany, so much bigger than it was before, is likely to behave differently in terms of its foreign policy than the old Federal Republic did?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think the greater Germany has gone forever, and we are all glad it has gone. I'm, I think, the oldest of the three Germans here, and I must say this will never be again repeated. Germany is definitely part of Europe. The future of Germany is inseparably connected up with the future of the whole of Europe. And there I think Germany will play a part as a fair partner to everybody, and we are dependent on everybody else. Everybody in this Europe of ours, in the European community, enlarging theoretically now also to the east. We are all sitting in one boat. We are going to help each other out. We have to help the East Europeans in their economic plight. No, I think the whole European family, I think, can be very confident about the future developments.
But in the circumstances, isn't Germany, United Germany, going to have to start looking more east than it's been looking up to now?
Well, probably whole Europe has to look more east than it used to do in the past. But as far as nationalism is concerned, I think the Germans are less nationalistic than all their western and eastern neighbors normally are.
You know, there was a senior figure in the Polish government today sounding warning bells. Poland is a country with whom you've had very troubled relations in the past. They are perhaps the most suspicious of all the nations in Europe about Germany. Is this as big as Germany is going to get?
As far as I know, this is only a problem of intellectuals in all these countries. The man in the street normally is not worried at all about the unification of Germany.
Irene Runge?
down. And I think that's very important, to be open to the rest of the world and not only German.
Now, well, I hope they could hear you in London more clearly than we could hear you here, because it is terribly, terribly noisy. But now let's, Charles Wheeler.
Jeremy, this is pure Monty Python.
I can't hear you.
This is pure Monty Python, having a serious political discussion in the middle of a firework display.
I'm only obeying orders, Charles.
Now,
Let's try to raise another question, because you raised it earlier, Irene Rung, and carry on doing our best to have this conversation. The question of whether there ever was a third way. A lot of East Germans really wanted to try to find a third way between capitalism and communism. It was a hopeless idea, wasn't it?
It was probably hopeless the moment the wall came down last November. I think 5 years ago, one could have started it. I don't know where it would have led, probably to confederation, probably to a united Germany, but then would have had a more normal development. I think from November on, it was a dream, and I think we should not forget our hopes, our ideals and everything. And also, I think the East Germans have to bring a lot of experience into West Germany, and up till now, I'm afraid the West Germans are not aware that we also carry some potential, intellectual knowledge about the East, knowledge about history, and in a way, to deal with circumstances that are tricky.
Charles Wheeler, was it ever a run of the third option?
no, I don't think there was. The interesting thing, a lot of us who've moved around in Germany for many years, since in the last 5 months, have been saying to each other, they really are very nice people, the East Germans. We're not sure they aren't rather nicer than the West Germans. There is something there that you're bound to lose, becoming part of the West. But I don't think there ever was a third way. I don't think there could have been, because nobody had ever thought about it. It came too suddenly. And none of your leaders, none of the people who started this revolution were ever able to put forward a coherent program. And so the steamroller from the West overtook it. And what we're watching tonight, let's face it, is to a great extent the first stage in Chancellor Kohl's next election campaign. Not what these people are doing here, but what he's doing over at the Reichstag over there.
Charles Wheeler, Irene Runge, Professor Schweitzer, Detlef Kuhn, thank you all very much. That's about all from Berlin tonight. Of course, the scenes you're seeing behind me raise all sorts of serious questions about, for example, the shifting centre of gravity in Europe and all sorts of other matters too. But this is not the time to discuss them. This is a time to celebrate, and Berliners will be doing that probably all night by the look of things. So, from Berlin, good night.